Joining us now is New Hampshire's Governor Chris Sununu. He endorsed Nikki Haley during the Republican presidential primary, but now has endorsed former President Trump. Governor, great to have you on. You have said JD Vance is a great pick for vice president, even though he is at odds with some of your most strongly held positions. Why are you behind him?
Well, look, a vice president the opportunity is twofold. Number one, showing a contrast to the current vice president, to Kamala Harris, which he's in stark contrast to, given his upbringing, given he was a Marine, he's incredibly smart, he's an outsider, he's not part of that D.C. establishment that everyone wants to kind of disrupt and kind of clean out. He is in stark contrast even to President Trump in terms of his upbringing, right? His family struggled with everything from drugs to poverty to all of these hardships. Huge contrast. But in a way that provides a good complement to a team, because that's what you want, a team-type approach. So it's not just about policies and, well, I'm only going to support, a vice presidential candidate because they agree with every single one of my policies. Obviously, that's never going to be the case. But it's a team effort. And it's, again, with JD and former President Trump, you get an administration that believes in states' rights, that believes in individual rights, that believes that the best government comes at the local level, not a one-size-fits-all out of Washington, D.C. That's in a stark contrast to what we have and taps into what the American public is looking for right now.
Right. When you talk about policies, a lot of, yourself included, a lot of people have said helping Ukraine is incredibly important, that it is a huge threat to the United States. JD Vance has said he wants to cut off aid to Ukraine. You said that would be catastrophic for the United States, warning that Ukraine will fall without our help, and it's a battle for Western democracy. Why doesn't that worry you?
Yeah. Well, look, we obviously don't. I think we agree on what the goal that we want, which is peace, right? Everybody wants peace there in some form. And I believe that Western democracy is on the line, on that front lines. Now, this administration has a different way to go about it in terms of whether it's negotiation or working it a different way. A lot of Republicans obviously support what we want to see, which is, good military aid to our allies. And Ukraine is an ally of this country. Putin is not an ally to this country. So, again, if they have a different strategy and how they're going to approach it, okay, fine. But again, I think they take the importance of America's strength, driving world peace, whether it's in Ukraine or Israel. These are conflicts that didn't exist under former President Trump. And I think that's what everyone wants to get back to see, one way or the other. They want America to reclaim its place with a president and an administration of strength. We don't have that now, not at all. No one's intimidated by Joe Biden. Our allies can't trust Joe Biden right now. They want to get back to something that they understand and can trust when it comes to really the world's security. So there's a couple different ways to go about it. And again, it doesn't mean we're going to agree on every policy, but is the alternative Joe Biden and Kamala Harris? I mean, they're not making decisions. Joe Biden is not making decisions here. That nobody believes that he's sitting in the Oval Office right now cranking out new metrics and senses of accountability and thought on where America's place in the world is going to be. There's no sense of that at all.
But to be
elections are about choices.
To be clear, Governor, I mean, it isn't different ways of going about it. You're either helping Ukraine or you're not. And he says, I don't want to help Ukraine.
Well, he's not going to dictate the only foreign policy for the United States.
Okay.
Obviously, Donald Trump and his team is going to dictate. He'll be an advisor. There's a lot of folks who have that opinion that, maybe shared and maybe not. But at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of folks involved in terms of where this goes. So to say, well, I don't agree with JD Vance on this one policy, so we're not going to support the ticket, that's silly. That's ridiculous. At the end of the day, at least you know where he stands. Can't tell you where Kamala Harris stands. Can't tell you where Joe Biden stands on this stuff. Right? They can't even get a sentence out.
Well, so we know where Joe Biden stands on aid to Ukraine. I mean, it's very clear he's been leading the way to help Ukraine. But let's leave Ukraine aside.
Did you see his speech a week ago at NATO? Nobody could understand a thing he was talking about. So I'm talking about what he's actually, but the U.S. policy under this administration, whether you agree with it or not, has been to help Ukraine and fund Ukraine. But moving on. Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.